Are you ready? Are you ready?
Hey, man, my car broke. I need to borrow some money. I need you to give me your fucking wallet.
I've been focused on self-defense for years. I've thought for a long time that I'd be prepared for whatever life had to throw at me. If somebody wanted to attack me or someone I love, I thought for sure my training and my preparedness had me ready to go.
It's a scenario ripped from the headlines.
The victim told police
approached the woman, punched her in the head, and
in
then
a place we're all familiar with.
We're just trying to leave.
she would be raped or murdered.
The melee began.
What happens when we drop a trained USCCA member and combat veteran into a parking garage predicament no one wants to find themselves in? You're about to find out in this USCCA training scenario.
My name is Anthony Anderson. I am a husband, I'm a father, I'm a veteran. I have been married for 20 years, and I'm a daughter dad. First couple weeks of college, 9/11 attacks happened, and that was it for me. So I finished my first year of school, and then I began exploring well, how can I finish school, but how can I also serve my country? About a month after we got married, I deployed to Iraq. I actually have volunteered for that deployment. I didn't wait, and we were stationed at Camp Liberty in Baghdad. Came home, did that, kind of coming home, trying to get reintegrated thing for about 1.5 years, and I volunteered to go back. And then we deployed and we provided convoy escort, convoy security. I was a convoy commander, so I'd put together the plans. Where are we going? How are we getting there? Who's going with? What are we going to do in the event that we're attacked? How are we going to respond? My military experience, it really kind of molded me into this idea of preparedness. It really demonstrated to me that we come from a place of good, right? We come from a place of good intent and compassion and love and empathy. Not everybody does. Some people are there to be bad actors. They are there to impose their will on you. And at a very early age, I recognized pretty quickly, you gotta be ready for that.
For this training scenario, we are using the Stress Vest laser training system. This is a modified Glock 17 pistol, but you will notice a couple of differences here. There's a gap on the side. No live ammunition can get inside this chamber. You'll notice that the barrel is also plugged with the laser actuator on the front. The Stress Vest provides a pain penalty to participants through electrical stimulation, adding another layer of disorientation that these participants could feel during a real-world self-defense situation. We're gonna load you up with a full magazine, maybe even give you a spare as we put you into the scenario, and away you go. You think you got everything?
I hope so. Yeah, I felt it.
All right, Anthony, here we are at your scenario. You're in a parking garage. Your car is the one that is unlocked. There's some garbage. Somebody has thrown some garbage on the hood of your car. You need to take the garbage off the hood of your car and drive home from a long day at work. Are you ready? Begin scenario.
Okay.
Awesome.
Oh,
What's up, dude?
are you gonna eat that?
I am
Can I
not.
have that? I'm just hungry. Hey, man, my car broke down. I got a guy over there. I gotta pay him. I just need to borrow some money.
Can I thanks?
Listen, no, I need you to give me your money.
Thanks.
I said I need you to give me your fucking wallet. That's what you're gonna do right now.
That's really good.
End scenario,
calm
end
it.
scenario. That was a really intense scenario. It happened really fast. Now we're gonna break it down, maybe even frame by frame. Anthony, we've brought in noted criminal defense attorney Tom Grieven, a former state prosecutor. Tom, is Anthony going to jail?
Let's take a look at the tape and find out.
So what did you see as this thing all came together as it was happening?
Well, the number one thing that people really tend to lose when you're just watching this on tape is what we all experience here in the room. How fast and brutal something like this happens.
Right now.
This isn't a frame-by-frame analysis where you can Monday morning quarterback it unless you're the cops, unless you're the prosecutor, unless you're the judge and the jury and the media. Those people, of course, are going to break things down frame by frame. But when you're right here in the moment, It is visceral, it is fast, it is brutal, and it is life-changing.
And Anthony, we walked you out here, and actually, we thought we had a great scenario set up. That's what I told people when we were starting. This is going to happen fast. We're going to see if we can catch them off guard. We're going to see if we can get them confused. Tell us what was going through your mind as you came out, and just sort of talk us through what you experienced.
When I first came out, I kind of saw the layout of the cars, and I was like, okay, all right, I can put myself in that position. I got your initial instruction. I started going, I saw one person approach me, and I thought, okay, I'm dealing with him. There it is. Here's the scenario. And then everything changed. So to Tom's point, all the different qualities and characteristics of an incident, the one thing that he didn't mention, confusion. I got confused quick. I didn't know which way to face or what I was going to focus on. And the speed with which it all kind of unfolded, I was not prepared for that.
Now, when we saw, we will call him role player one,
Yeah.
the unhoused person coming up, what were you thinking about when you saw him, and what did you do?
Well, my first thought was, okay, this is going to be where my threat comes from. This is how they're setting me up, right? And so a lot of my initial attention was focused on, is there anything in his hands? Is it, no, okay. So this is going to unfold differently than I thought. He had my attention when the real threat came around the corner. Now all of a sudden, everything was in stereo. I had him talking to me. I had him talking to me. I didn't know which one was going, and I didn't know once he pulled the knife if now I was going to start getting attacked from behind as well. So what I started thinking when I saw him approach was, okay, just be prepared, understand your situation, understand your surroundings, know what's happening. But as soon as the second person showed up, that's when I was just like, this is not what I expected.
When our second role player started talking to you and started engaging
Yeah.
with you, what were you thinking about him immediately?
When he started asking for money, I got one guy asking me for food, another asking me for money, and all I'm trying to do is get in my car. I really didn't know what to expect. As soon as I saw the knife, that's when everything changed. I didn't focus on anything other than that at that moment.
Tom, while this was going on, you and I were talking about quietly about the number of shots fired. Anthony, do you remember how many shots you fired?
As many as it took.
Okay, good.
Good answer.
Yeah,
Good answer.
That's the right answer. Why did you keep shooting?
Because from what I saw, he was still standing. He was still arm out. He was still capable of stabbing me.
Tom, what do you think about the number of shots fired?
I mean, it's going to be a problem. I mean, just bluntly, it's going to be a problem. There is a prejudice set up by Hollywood, by televisions, by movies, by everything else about the fact that you shoot at someone once, the good guy shoots the bad guy once, and they flop over dead, neutralized, threat over. We know that is not real life. Look, are you going to get prosecutors, you're going to get cops, you're going to get judges, juries, and of course the media that are going to slam him for 9 shots? Are you kidding me? Why not just shoot him in the foot, shoot him in the leg, right? Just shoot the knife away. We all know there are people out there who are profoundly misguided, miseducated, and they think that those are real world solutions. They're not. You shoot until you stop the threat. The bad guy is the one that chose this, not Anthony.
Did you consciously think about backing up? Because you backed up nicely. You were putting some good space between him and you.
It was not so much a conscious thing. It was more like over the years of training, like get off the X, like move.
Were you thinking about the guy behind you?
No. So I thought about that after. As soon as that took over, my whole focus was on him. If the dude behind me had been wanting to do harm to me, he would have done it. I completely forgot about him once the knife came out.
And this is super common. I mean, what we have seen at my firm time and time again, when you're talking about defensive use of force, defensive gun use, bad guy produces a weapon, whether it's an edge weapon like a knife or whether or not it's a firearm, and you get target isolation, you get tunnel vision on that particular weapon, and you just lose everything else to the sides. Your entire brain, your entire world just channels itself right into that. So that's very not surprising. This is 100% normal So people who are watching this, if they think, oh, that's not going to happen to me, I'm going to maintain perfect 360 degree, peripheral background,
Doing your tactical scan, your everything that you learned. Yeah.
That is not the way that's going to happen. And that's one of the cool things about this scenarios is because while there's no such thing as 100% replicating the stress that can happen in the street, you can at least get somewhere between a normal training exercise and that.
Like Tom says, there's no way we can replicate life or death in a room like this. You know that you're not going to die, but you're wearing a watch that told us your heart rate.
Yeah, it jumped up about 50 beats per minute. And even for a few minutes after, I could still feel my knees kind of shaking a little bit. So there was definitely a reaction that my body had.
Look, you have to make a snap value judgment of where is the threat coming from. A, is there a threat? And B, if so, where is it coming from? And there's no perfect call, right? In this scenario, we knew that the guy who was going to be asking for the food was not a threat. So it's easy for us to play Monday morning quarterback and say, hey, dude pops up behind you.
Yeah.
Right, dude pops up behind you, he snuck up or whatever it is you want to call it. That's an immediate yellow flag of a potential threat. Immediately put distance between you and him. It's easy for us to say that. In real life, you don't know who the threat is. So maybe to your point of getting off the X, if we're going to truly try to Monday morning quarterback this, yeah, the second that this other guy sneaks up behind you, immediately hightail it out of there. You didn't open the car. You don't have a kid in the back seat. There's nothing there but property that's replaceable, right? So that's where immediately you get back out and create that distance, because we all know within 21 feet, you're within that reactionary gap. That edge weapon, that's a deal breaker.
He could cut you badly with that in that amount of space that we provided you in there.
Let's talk quickly. What's the prosecution's case to send Anthony to jail for life for homicide? All right. If I'm the prosecutor, here's my case. Look, he could have backtailed it. He could have escaped. He could have jumped into his car. The bad guy only had a knife. He could have just jumped inside. He chose to do none of those things. He could have escaped. He could have run away. He could have sought shelter. He chose violence by A, carrying the weapon, because we know prosecutors, I know prosecutors.
You were looking for a fight, weren't you, Anthony, when you walked out to the car?
I was not.
Yeah.
And then B, he didn't shoot once. He didn't shoot him in the leg. He didn't try to do anything with that, right? He didn't use the food bag that he was still holding maybe in order to try to swat away the knife or something like that. He didn't try to de-escalate the situation. Instead, he leapt to shooting not once, not twice, but 9 times. 9 times. The majority of those successfully struck center mass, as we know, right? That doesn't sound like someone who's choosing life. That's someone who's choosing violence and death, and that's someone who belongs in prison. If I'm the prosecutor, that's basically going to be the nuts and bolts of my case, right? Now, of course, if I'm the defense attorney, and I'd much rather be the defense attorney here, just to be clear. Now, number one, we don't know whether or not this would be happening in some sort of castle doctrine or stand your ground state, right? Now, since he did not already have access to the inside of his car, we probably don't have any kind of castle doctrine claims. But if we're in a stand your ground state, that absolutely can change the scenario. Likewise, the opposite is true. If we are in a duty to retreat state, where if you're outside your home, and there's a couple of them out there, that, hey, before you use deadly force, you must reasonably exhaust all retreat options, he could be going to prison very easily for what we just saw.
And I would argue, though, and you mentioned this, you were boxed in. Do you reasonably think you could have retreated safely from that situation?
No.
I think he could have stuck you before you got your gun out and got that into play had you not moved. I saw you trying to get out of the way, and the only way to stop that guy was to shoot him.
The part that after the fact that I really would have been worried about is if this guy would have touched me as I was coming back. If he had touched me, like, hey man, or something like that. I mean, I was in, like, to Tom's point, kind of like tunnel vision. I just would have seen, or I think I would have seen, just another threat. And if he had grabbed me to pull, I would have looked at that as an aggressive action. I could have turned around and shot. And if anybody had seen that, they would have said, this guy wasn't even doing anything. He was just back here looking for a burger. It would have been a completely different outcome.
What's your biggest takeaway from something like this?
The speed with which it unfolded. Absolutely.
I think this just really highlights for people that you are making life or death decisions in a split moment of time with very limited knowledge. But you're going to be judged by people who have all the information and virtually unlimited time to figure it out.
And Anthony, we gave you 10 seconds here to determine the absolute rest of your life, which could have ended here or decades in prison if you didn't do the right thing.
That's right.
I think you came out of this pretty well.
Thanks.
Most gun owners think they're prepared to shoot in self-defense, but defending yourself in court is another story. Even if Anthony did everything right in this scenario, that doesn't mean he won't be charged with a crime. In the minds of some prosecutors, the very fact that you had a gun makes you a bad guy, and proving your innocence could cost you $50,000 or more. If you think there's even a chance that you might have to use your gun one day, which is why you bought it, right? You need to be prepared. And the USCCA gives you everything you need: life-saving education, expert training, and legal preparation. So if you want the same peace of mind enjoyed by over 830,000 other gun owners, a USCCA membership is your all-in-one solution. Click the link in the description to learn more and activate your membership today. You even get over $100 in free bonuses when you sign up right now.
The USCCA is not an insurance company. A policy has been issued to the USCCA. That policy provides the association and its members with self-defense liability insurance, subject to its terms, conditions, limitations, and exclusions. Contact 1-800-674-9779 with any questions.